Hey, what's going on? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. Thank you for stopping by the State of the NFL podcast. I ask that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is a channel where we talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the NFL. Hey, what's going on, sports fans? It is yours truly, TJAY Jones, and welcome to another edition of the State of the NFL podcast, where we talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the National Football League. And on today's episode, we have a special guest. He is a college football analyst. He is also a author. And this guy has put together one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. He has broken down every single draft pick of 2025 and giving you stats, the highs and lows, the positive and negative. I mean, a hard worker and a good friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Emory Hunt. Emory, how you doing?
Doing all right, TJ, man. You're looking good, man. Glad to be on the show.
Man, thanks for being here and chopping it up with us a little bit about the National Football League. And, man, just before we get started, you know, just your football game plan, man. I mean, that's a lot of hard work breaking down all of the draft prospects, man. But what has gotten you, like, into doing stuff like that?
It's always about like doing something that no one else is doing, right? Which led me to start football game plan. Instead of sitting around in 2006, we were sitting around watching the draft and didn't really like how they were talking about Vince Young, saying he wasn't going to be any good, as if we didn't watch the greatest college football game ever.
Oh,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
instead of us complaining about back and forth, it was like, let's just start something. So we started football game plan in 2007, and it wasn't just to start a draft site or NFL site. It was like, man, we're going to cover everything. So we had, NFL Europe, we had college football, all levels, women's tackle football, arena football. And so having that backdrop and doing all of those things like that just kind of, as I've gotten older in my career and more established and trying to figure out what's next, I've always been a big draft guy. And so why not, if you're going to go to these all-star games, because I attend all 8 or 9 or sometimes 10 all-star games here and also in Canada,
Right.
You're watching these prospects, why not have grades and reports on them? Because even though you only have, 260 that get drafted, another 300 or so about to get opportunities in terms of being undrafted rookie free agents, and guys pop up on the rosters throughout the year. So why not have something on those guys? So you better have a grasp of what's going on around the league. So I never want to put out a draft guide. It's funny. I've been flirting with putting out a draft guide since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put the first one out until 2020.
Yeah.
So that shows you how long I've been thinking about it. But it was like, what type of draft guide I would want to do. And then 2020, thanks in part to COVID, where we had to sit down and keep going to all right, I could put this one together. Every year it has gotten better and bigger and probably bigger and bigger. I'll say this. If you purchase a draft guide from 2020 to the 2025 edition, you would have over 5,400 individual scouting reports at your disposal right now, more than anybody in history has ever put out.
Yeah, man. I value, hard work and I definitely admire what you're doing, man. I mean, I got an opportunity to get my hands on your most recent copy and just the details, man, of breaking down every single prospect, man. I mean, I admire that. And it also helps a lot of people have an understanding of the type of draft picks their team is selecting. And, I just think that is amazing work. So I just wanted to big up you before we even start, talking about some of these amazing athletes that got drafted this year. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk a little bit about some of the rookie quarterbacks. Some people were talking about how this draft wasn't as deep at quarterback, finding that possible franchise guy. But there are a few talented quarterbacks that could possibly be first-day starters. I guess we have to start with quarterback Cam Ward, the first pick overall. Do you see Cam Ward hitting the ground running? Because, I mean, we have seen a trend over the last couple of years, Emory, where you have these young quarterbacks that come into the league and they find instant success. Could Cam Ward be one of those guys?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. And the reason why I feel that strongly about that, TJ, is because I've watched Cam Ward do just that since Incarnate Word. In 2020, his first season on campus and that spring season that we saw the FCS participate in, he got out there and they upset McNeese in a big way. That was his first game, and then
Right.
he led those guys to a 3-3 record,
Mm.
but won the Jerry Rice Award, which is a FCS Freshman of the Year.
Right.
And so seeing him do that, seeing him go to Washington State and make them relevant, get them to a bowl game his first year, then seeing him go to Miami and have those guys on the precipice of a playoff invite. And so I have no doubt in my mind where he's going to a situation where the Titans have done a good job along the offensive line. They
Mm-hmm.
have some backs that can run the football. They put some pieces around him at receiver. There's some already in place. And you just worry about the defense and being healthy and staying healthy and finding a pass rush. But outside of that, Cam Ward is who he has always been. And he's someone I think he's truly gonna hit the ground running. Reminded me a lot. And it's funny because as I've gone through his career, I've initially I was like, man, he reminds me a lot of Steve McNair. And now, as you saw in the draft guide, he plays a lot like Patrick Mahomes when he was coming out of Texas Tech. And so you kind of like that ability and that willingness to go somewhere that may not be, with all the perfect pieces, but he still can elevate what's around him and get those guys to play really well. And I think he will.
Yeah. I think the one thing I like about Cam Ward is his assurance. Like he believes in himself. He believes that he should be in the moment that he's in right now. And then also, man, he's just so dialed in. I think that this is the type of leader that the Titans have been wanting for quite some time at the quarterback position. This guy just wants to play football, and he just wants to elevate his game every single time he hits the field. So it won't be a surprise if he finds instant success with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they're definitely going to need him to hit the ground running. But there are other quarterbacks as well. Jackson Dart with the New York Football Giants. They moved back up to try to get him in the first round. I mean, there's been a lot of positive talk, negative talk about Jackson Dart. But what do you see when you scout him? And is it a good fit for the New York Giants? Could you see him possibly starting in some games if maybe Russell Wilson can't get it done this season?
He's in the best possible situation for a guy coming out of the offense he came out of in college.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw a guy a couple of years ago. If you put up my report for Jackson Dart and next to my report for Matt Corral, they're eerily similar. And right. And so we saw Matt Corral get thrust into a competition in Carolina, and he wasn't really able to handle that competition. He got banged up, was ineffective, and never really could find his footing, and then subsequently fell out the league. And then he goes to the UFL and still has some struggles with the same thing in terms of getting rid of football, playing in a more of a pro style system. And so with Dart, having him go to the Giants to where you have Russell Wilson, future Hall of Famer, and you have Jameis Winston. So there's no need for him to start right away. So if you're Brian Daboll, you have two guys that can start and win games for you while you break down some of those habits of Jackson Dart coming out of that offense and really teach him your way of playing the position and what you want him to be. So in maybe year two, like 2026, when Wilson and or Winston maybe move on, you have a guy that has spent the entire year learning the system, spent an entire year working through the mechanics and working through the things that he didn't do particularly well coming out of Ole Miss. And now you have a little bit more confidence. A second year with building around him in terms of building a roster, because the roster looks pretty good. So he can step into a situation that's easier for him to make the transition.
Yeah. Well, are you concerned about maybe the New York Giants putting him on the field a little bit prematurely? Because the reason I asked that is because, I mean, make no mistake about it. I mean, you got Brian Daboll and General Manager Joe Shane. They're on a hot seat right now. And, the owner of the Giants already came out and spoke that he wasn't very happy or satisfied with the product over the last couple of years. So could you see a possibility of maybe them using Jackson Dart to maybe try to solidify themselves like, hey, this is going to be our guy. This is the quarterback that we wanted to work with. Could you see him being thrust into the lineup prematurely?
Not at all. I think their goal is to win games. Mm-hmm. And pound for pound, the best guys that give you the chance to win right now are Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. What they will probably end up doing is utilizing those preseason games to really showcase what the potential of the future could be. So let's say Russell Wilson gets a series, maybe two, Jameis plays a quarter and a half,
Right.
and you could give way to Jackson Dart playing either the entire second half or at least the third quarter up until midway to the fourth. Then you give Tommy DeVito a chance to go out there and get some reps too. So I think the play is to let the fans get excited about the future a little bit, but make sure they stay in the present.
Right.
Because what they built around Russell Wilson this year, you got a stable run game. The offensive line looks solid. The receiving core is going to be something that no one expected from this receiving core because they never had the quarterback to utilize those guys as talents. So
Right.
this receiving core is underrated. And on defense, the front seven should be crazy in terms of how good they're going to be within rushing the passer and also stopping the run. So there's a lot to be optimistic about if you're a Giants fan, but one of which is that you're not forced to thrust a rookie quarterback in the fray so soon.
Yeah. I'm just a tad bit concerned, especially like when those coaches are on a hot seat, they get into desperation mode, Emory, where they trying to do everything they can to try to solidify their job. And Brian Daboll, he was appointed the head coach to try to come in to try to help Daniel Jones. That didn't pan out. So, maybe, he's gonna use Jackson Dart, and put him out there in the forefront. But I wouldn't want that. I think that when I look at Jackson Dart, I see some things that that are positive. I can understand people's excitement. I mean, there's been throws that he makes. Some pro players that have been in the league for a long time, I haven't seen them make. But you definitely don't want to get him out there, and then you know how that New York crowd can get. They can turn on you pretty fast. So they got to be very careful of how they utilize Jackson Dart. And finally, the second round pick, we'll stop with him, Tyler Shuck from the New Orleans Saints. He finally gets his contract. He gets a 4-year, $10.7 million guaranteed deal, which has been a trend of with these second round picks wanting guaranteed money. But Tyler Shuck kind of came out of nowhere, when it come to the evaluation. There's a lot of people that are very high on Tyler Shuck. There's some that don't know what he can bring. And there's also a competition going on between him and Spencer Rattler going into Saints training camp. What are your thoughts on evaluating Tyler Shuck? And, he's had some highs and lows throughout his collegiate career, but can he be a starter in the National Football League and give a team consistent success?
That's the question that remains to be answered, TJ, because he hasn't had any consistency throughout the course of his 7-year college career. So, and it's due to injury.
Yeah.
And the only time we saw him stay healthy for a full season was this past year, and he was 26-9 touchdown interception ratio, kind of okay. Didn't really do too much in the bigger games that they played this year versus Miami, Notre Dame. So okay, he's okay, but can you depend on that, right? But what I do like about Shuck is the fact that he has some athleticism. So he can go and pick up those cheap first downs. He can go and do his thing, run the football, all that stuff like that. And he's in a true quarterback competition. We don't see quarterback competitions that are just like this, right? Now, granted, it's not a fair one because this staff, this regime drafted Tyler Shuck. So they want him to be the starter, even if it may be obvious that Spencer Rattler is outplaying him, which I feel like is possible because he's more talented. They can easily say Shuck won the job or just hand Shuck the job, or allow Rattler to, play himself out of the job. And then you may have a Breeze River situation where Rattler may not play himself off the job and now he becomes a trade piece, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good situation for the Saints to be in, especially when you think about you have a 5th round pick in Rattler, and a 2nd round pick in Shuck, and you just talked about the contract numbers. So you're not really breaking the bank on either one of these guys. So if both flame out, it really costs you nothing. You have a backup in either Shuck or Rattler, and then you can go get your guy whenever you want to, like in a 1st round pick of next year or whatever, right?
Yeah, right.
You find a trade with some of these people that have multiple quarterbacks on the roster. So I think it's a good situation for Shuck to where you can go out there and really prove that you should be the guy and prove that you belong and show that the previous 6 years or the anomaly in the 7th year was a sign of things to come that you can stay healthy for a full season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at Tyler Shuck. You know, I watched some of his tape, and you know, there are times where I just feel like he gets a little happy feet when it comes to like experiencing pressure around him. But I mean, I've seen the arm strength, I see the arm talent, and we have seen a trend around the National Football League when it comes to some of these older quarterbacks coming in 24, 25 years old, finding that level of success. Like Bo Nix with the Denver Broncos, even like Joe Burrow, he came into the league even though he's coming off a Heisman Trophy campaign. I mean, he was 24 years old coming into the league. Have you noticed that, or do you feel like that's a big deal? Guys that have the type of experience like Shuck, like Joe Burrow, who have bounced around a little bit, experienced like the highs and lows of college football. Does that pay dividends when they go into the league, in your opinion?
It can for the right person. Even bring up Michael Penix, who had
Yeah,
two careers at Indiana
right.
and also at Washington, to where he had to prove can he stay healthy. And he did the last 2 years with the Huskies.
Mm,
And so when you think about someone like Shuck, despite him being in college for 7 years, he really only played two,
mm,
in terms of on field play.
right,
And so he's still kind of a neophyte in terms of playing ball. So when you're talking about the quarterbacks that have that extensive experience, let's say like a Dylan Gabriel with Cleveland or a Bo Nix, one of these guys that have played 6 years, 5 years, but literally started all those years,
right.
that's invaluable. There's not much you haven't seen defensively, but you're also more apt to go out there and play right away. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that you kind of like. And it is funny because it's uniquely only at the quarterback position because your arm is your skill.
Mm,
It's not like you getting a 25-year-old running back or receiver or DB or edge guy where your speed may start to be on that bell curve of decline and you
right.
may have 5 years of a career.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks, you kind of can go until you're 35, and the exceptional ones can probably push that until they're 40. But I would say a 25-year-old rookie, 10-year career, that's a pretty good get if you're able to get 10 years out of a guy coming in at 25.
Yeah. Yeah, I just look at some of these guys like Jayden Daniels, like Joe Burrow, like you mentioned Michael Penix. I mean, a lot of these guys, you can see that the lights aren't as bright. And I think, it has a lot to do with them going through those ebbs and flows, those highs and lows of college football, maybe being the toast of the town and then kind of being dethroned or going through those adversities could possibly help them and provide a chip on their shoulder. And I think that's the reason why you see so many talented guys, that come in a little bit older and ready to hit the ground running. I mean, the only time will tell if Tyler Shuck is one of those guys. I believe he'll be 26 years old at the start of the season for the New Orleans Saints. There's one quarterback that a lot of people feel should have heard his name called in the first round. I'm one of them, and that is Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, of course, had to hear his name called much later on a third day of the draft, which, in my opinion, was egregious. But he does find a home with the Cleveland Browns, and he has been doing things the right way. Like some people were concerned about him being that polarizing figure, kind of staying underneath the radar, has a lunch pail mentality. What the future hold for a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders? Like I won't put words in your mouth, but me personally, I feel like he has first round talent, and maybe he could possibly see himself going up the depth chart. Do you see that with a team like Cleveland, and is this the right place for a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders?
Absolutely, man. And listen, I compared him. I called him the Black Joe Burrow for years,
Hmm.
back when he was at Jackson State, because he plays the game great from the neck up. And it's funny to let people know why I came to that conclusion. When he first got to Jackson State, I didn't know much about him as a high school player. I thought maybe this is going to be a daddy ball situation where he's going to start Shador to be
Right.
kind of average, but because his last name is Sanders, they're going to force him to play all these years.
Hmm.
But then he got out there, and after the first game, I'm like, wow, this dude's making some good decisions.
Right.
Then the next game, you're like, that was a great decision. That was a clutch decision. And it was crazy because, yeah, he's completing the football and being accurate and all of those things. But as a true freshman, 18 years old, him making these grown man decisions and veteran decisions really stood out. And he led them to a conference championship game. And then the second year, when they got Travis Hunter, led them to a conference championship game. He didn't lose a game in the SWAC. And then they transfer up and go to Colorado. And everybody's like, well, he's going to be playing big time ball now. He also won the Jerry Rice Award, just like Cam Ward did. Right. He also, was a HBCU All-American Black College Player of the Year. They go to Colorado. In the first game against ranked TCU, he put up 500 yards, 4 touchdowns in the game, upset win against the Home Frogs on the road. And so you're seeing him. How many times we stayed up late out here on the East Coast watching these Colorado games and watching him be down points, backed up, 90 yards away, needing to go score a touchdown to stay in the game, and he goes and answers that call.
Right.
So talk about someone that has always been in the spotlight, been battle tested, and has that pedigree of, I don't care what you say about me, I know it's all about the team. I mean, we saw him do it at Jackson State, downtrodden. We saw him do it at Colorado, downtrodden. Browns haven't been consistently relevant for since they came back into the NFL in 99. So this is a great situation for him. And when you levy out the competition, I think people romanticize what Flacco was the last time he was in Cleveland, but that playoff game really sticks out to me. He turned the ball over and he got blown out by the Texans. And then people just bypass what he did last year with the Colts. Like, he wasn't good with Indianapolis either. And so they just like the idea of Flacco. I don't see Flacco as a serious, player for this first round, for this first job, or his starting job. Pickett was a first-round pick of Pittsburgh, and had Pickett been playing like a first-round pick, older prospect like we talked about before, had he been playing like that first-round pick, he'd still be in Pittsburgh because the Steelers are still looking for their franchise quarterback of the future.
Right.
So I think, and Pickett also stays hurt a lot. So Shedeur can outplay him. No one from August 2024 to April 30th thought Dylan Gabriel was a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. So, he's not better than him now. Even though he was taken early, we know why Shedeur was taken 5th. It wasn't because of his talent. I think the real play here is Dylan Gabriel being a QB2, regardless of who is QB1. And I do feel like when they get to these preseason games, Shedeur and Dylan will play a lot, and it will show. It's just like Russell Wilson did in his rookie year when he was balling in the preseason and they just signed Matt Flynn and all that money. It was undeniable that Russell Wilson should have been the guy, and they made him the starter. I think this will be the same way for Shedeur. They're going to make him go out there and have to earn it. And if he plays like he played at Jackson State and at Colorado, he will justifiably go and earn that starting job.
I don't understand, what the Browns were doing, waiting that long to draft him. And look, I understand. I mean, we knew that, there was going to be a lot of controversy surrounding Shedeur, especially when it comes to like who his father is, maybe some of the things that he did during the draft. I mean, we heard the whispers when, we were at the combine about some of the interviews that were conducted. But this is a guy who is extremely talented. It's a shame that, he heard his name called so late. But it's not about sometimes, when you hear your name change. It's the fact, hear your name called. It should be like, the fact that you actually get that opportunity. And I just look around the landscape of the Browns. I just think that this is one of those situations where, he's put in a really good position because none of those guys, even though they have Deshaun Watson on the books, that's just that ship is sailed. This is a great opportunity for him to possibly be that starting quarterback. And, I think that when they go out there in preseason, I think a lot of people are going to realize how special this guy is. And I appreciate the fact that since he has been drafted, you haven't heard a lot of stuff coming out of Cleveland, at least not from him. I mean, we'll get into the running backs in a second, but it's not because of him. He's doing all the right things. And hopefully, the Cleveland Browns will make the right decision. They thought, more than likely they made the right decision at the running back position with Quinshon Judkins. Unfortunately, he's having some issues, with domestic violence. But when it comes to Quinshon Judkins, he's a talented guy. But my thoughts is not just about Quinshon, but other rookie running backs. We have been told like this was a pretty deep draft when it comes to the running back position. You think about Emory Hunt going to the Chargers, Quinshon Judkins, who I just mentioned, going to the Browns, Travion Henderson with the Patriots. Devin Neal, a late round draft pick, a lot of people thought would have been picked pretty high, goes to the Saints, and R.J. Harvey finds a place with the Broncos. I mean, the list goes on and on. But what rookie running back are you looking at that was drafted in the right spot and that you feel like is going to make an impact right away?
All of them. I mean, because but I will say this: I do look at Travion Henderson going to the Patriots. I think that's a clear path for him to be the starter. Ramondre Stevenson is a good back, but he puts the ball on the ground a lot.
Yeah,
like, he has to really stop fumbling the football. And if he gives any way to a guy that's a legit game breaker, that could spell the end of him being a starter. So I could see that happening for him. I would also look at how a guy like Damian Martinez, who got drafted by Seattle, goes into that backfield. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, two really good backs. And here's a guy in Martinez that kind of is a cross between both of them. Good footwork, good contact balance, a good burst. He's another one that can carve out a way for him. And when you think about, all of the different ways guys can get in, that Cleveland backfield also is intriguing. They drafted Dylan Sampson as well. And they only signed one undrafted rookie free agent. Usually teams sign multiple, right, just to get through a practice. But they only signed one, and that was Amani Marshall out of App State, who's about 6'1", 220, assertive runner, very good receiver coming out of the backfield, but also going down the field. And I saw him at the College Gridiron Showcase down there in Fort Worth, Texas, and he was balling. He was one of the best backs in attendance.
Yeah.
So it's a situation where Judkins' off-the-field issue and also not being signed creates that door for Sampson, who is the shorter of the three, but is the best in pass pro, and Amani Marshall to really make the team and make a name for himself because he's the bigger back out of the whole group.
Yeah.
There's a lot of intrigue there. I do like this Devin Neal fit in New Orleans. Very good receiver, elusive guy that can make the first guy miss. And it all depends on how much they want to get in the rotation. But, every back landed in a great spot. I even bring up an undrafted free agent, Land Larison, who is with the Patriots. Grading his college tape at UC Davis reminded me so much of a diet version of Christian McCaffrey. He just glides out there, man. He is so phenomenal to watch with the football. And it'll be fascinating to see how he carves out a role this preseason with the Patriots.
See, that's the reason why y'all got to get that college football playbook. Yeah, that's why y'all got to get that's why y'all got to get it, man, so you can see like so many different, under the radar talented running backs, not just the ones that, a lot of people have been talking about. But I look at, the issue with Quinshon Judkins, it's very unfortunate. But just for a minute, can you talk a little bit about his skill set and how he can possibly mesh in Cleveland despite what's going on right now?
Think about what we saw last year from the guys that were, that are still there, that were on the team last year. You had Pierre Strong and also Jerome Ford. Now, we know Jerome Ford has explosiveness and burst. Right. But last year we saw a lot of east and west running from Ford and not a lot of north and south. He was dancing a little bit too much. And when you think about the one trait that Quinshon Judkins has, Dylan Sampson have, and also Amani Marshall, they are assertive, one cut downhill, boom. They are going north and south to varying degrees of burst. And, when Judkins goes north and south, he's running with a purpose. We saw him really showcase. I know there was a question about his long speed,
right?
But it's funny because we saw him rip off a 90-yard run against Marshall earlier in the year. But then he had the great postseason where people started to say, okay, he does have some speed, does have some burst, and he works well in a tandem. So he doesn't have to be the lead guy. He's done the tandem thing at Ole Miss. He did it at Ohio State with Travion Henderson. And I think the expectation was that he's going to do it again with either Ford and or Sampson. And so, I mean, he's a solid receiver going out of the backfield. So is Sampson. And I talked about how Marshall is. So those guys, to me, in terms of what they do, are all similar to varying degrees of burst and speed, but they all are assertive. They all are able to go get north and south. And they also are valuable in short yardage goal line situations. And if Judkins didn't have the issues or were signed, I think he'd be the front runner, be the starter in the backfield.
Yeah. Well, Do you think this is going to affect his, him on the depth chart? I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought more than likely he would have been first on the depth chart. Does this affect him? Possibly being that starting running back this season.
It does, because when he gets signed and when he reports to the team, now you have to deal with the suspension.
Mm.
So you have to wonder that a suspension is going to come down from the NFL. And once that is levied, they're not going to burn reps with a guy that won't be out there until later in the season. So it definitely hinders his chances of being a starter in year one. Now, when he comes back, he could make up a lot of ground, but also set the table for what is to come in 2026. So I do think for him, the most important thing is to get his legal situation, settled,
Mm-hmm.
and also, get signed and get the camp, and just let the chips fall where they may. Be a good teammate, keep your head down, stay out of trouble, stay off the police blotter, and just start looking at this year as a freshman year, to where you're kind of getting some reps in there. You're going to do your suspension, but then set the table for 2026 to let people know, like, hey, I'm going to be that guy come next season.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that he found himself in this situation, but I mean, this could be a learning experience for him, and he can come back bigger and better. Hopefully when everything gets resolved. But we talked about rookies, but let's talk a little bit. My last question for you is about some second year guys, and Jayden Daniels going into his sophomore year. This has been the talk among I guess like podcasters, reporters, etc. about can he keep up this momentum. I mean, he came into the league, had a lot of fanfare. I mean, a lot of excitement. I mean, there was a point where some people thought that he might end up being actual league MVP. And he leads the Commanders to the NFC Championship game, come up short against the Eagles. But I mean, everybody's been talking about Jayden Daniels. There's been talk about he could possibly have a sophomore slump. Heard like some guys like Cam Newton may, threw that out there. But what are your thoughts about Jayden Daniels going into year number 2? Do you feel like this last year was pretty much an outlier, or do you feel like this is exactly who Jayden Daniels is, and he's going to be able to continue to keep this momentum going?
I think this is exactly who he is. Let's go back a couple years. His first year at LSU, how well he played there, kept those guys in a lot of ball games. Then this following year, he wins the Heisman. And then he comes to the NFL last season and wins Rookie of the Year and does a great thing leading those guys to the NFC title game, right? So he's trending in the right direction. And to me, there's no reason to believe he should slide down, because they've also added weapons around him. They've gotten better around the offensive line. They bring in Deebo Samuel. You hopefully they re-sign Terry McLaurin, give him a new contract so he's happy. They have good tight ends. He aids the run game, so it doesn't matter who's back there in the backfield. They're going to have advantageous lanes to run through. The defense has added some pieces, so he's locked in. He's dialed in. I don't foresee him dropping off. I still think he'll play really well. Now, will they get to the NFC Championship game? That's a little bit, too far out, in my opinion. How good the NFC has gotten around everybody. I mean, the NFC looks like a gauntlet. The South should be competitive. The West looks as competitive as the North. So it'll be a tougher road, but you won't see if they don't make the playoffs, or if they don't get past the wild card round, it won't be because of Jayden Daniels.
Yeah. I think that he's pretty much locked in. I think he is who he is, and also the excitement out of Commander fans is just amazing to watch, and you can also see how he's impacting the league. I mean, you bring in, like you said, Deebo Samuels, he comes in, giving them another weapon, and it seems like people want to come play for this kid. I just think that the way that he plays, in a way that he carries himself is infectious, and I'm interested to see how he's going to be able to, have an even better season in year 2. Any other quarterback that's going into their sophomore season that you're looking forward to seeing? I mean, we mentioned Michael Penix earlier, Bo Nix, Drake May, really talented guys. Even Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy, he's going to be the starter, after missing his rookie season. So out of those guys, which one are you looking forward to seeing the most?
Caleb Williams, because I think the Bears win the NFC North. When you look at Caleb Williams, we thought last year was, this is the best situation for a rookie quarterback to step in. He have this, they have that, they have this. And we found out they really didn't have a lot of that, right? But this year, you go out and get Drew Dalman, who was a stellar center for the Falcons. You go out and get Joe Tooney, right? Outstanding guard. Jonah Jackson, if he's healthy, is another outstanding guard. You draft Ozzie Trapillo, who was one of my favorite tackles in the draft class. You go out and sign Grady Jarrett, albeit a veteran, but he's still Grady Jarrett.
Right.
Along with Dayo Adingbo, who is so underrated. He was trending toward being a second round, maybe late first round pick, but got hurt during the NFL draft process and fell. Colts get him, had to nurse him back, and then by the time he started to play, his contract was up. So the Bears are getting themselves an ascending player with a lot of talent there. They go along with Montez Sweat. You look at DJ Moore is back in the fold, along with Luther Burden, whom they drafted. Also, Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, who pairs up with Cole Kmet. And you bring in Ben Johnson, who was an OC with the Bears. I'm sorry, with the Lions. He goes with the Bears now. This team now is better suited for Caleb Williams, who went through the first year lumps of a rookie, put up some solid statistical numbers. So he wasn't a total, flop, as some people like to make you believe. But the fact that he's coming into a situation where they have 3 receivers, Moore, Odunze, and his rookie Burden, 2 tight ends, improved interior offensive line, stable of running backs. I mean, Kyle Bonanga, a 7th-round pick out of Rutgers, is going to be an insane player for them. And he pairs up with DeAndre Swift, who I'm a big fan of because of his elusiveness. So I think Caleb Williams is going to have a bang-out year. I'm excited to see what he does here in year 2. J.J. McCarthy, just in terms of the intrigue, because his situation, albeit we hope Addison is healthy, but him, Jefferson, Sam Laporta, Hawkinson.
Yeah, TJ Hawkinson. Yeah.
A little improvement on the offensive line. Their defense is killer. So he steps into a situation where, hey, all I got to do is just drive the bus and not mess this thing up. So from his perspective, more of an intrigue. But Caleb, I'm expecting the Bears to win a division and him to put up some monster numbers.
But what does it say about Caleb? Are you concerned about like some of the off the field stuff? The I guess like the articles, the talk from his father. And some like are you concerned about that? Do you think that could possibly weigh thin on a football team the way that Caleb Williams sometimes carry himself and some of the background noise?
Nope. And not a chance I'm worried about that, because we grew up in an era where, you had Dennis Rodman, who we all knew with the Pistons, workmanlike effort, got the rebounds, did what he had to do. And then we saw Dennis Rodman, the personality with the Spurs and with the Bulls, had the different color hairstyles and all. You think all the stuff he was doing off the field, you think they care? Nope. As long as you grabbing them boards, I don't give a damn what you do. That's all it is. As long as you're out there balling, none of this stuff matters. Like, what you want to do out there on the, whatever runway, or your dad can say this, your dad can say that. Is he balling? Yes. Then all of that stuff is fine for me. I've always held that, type of sentiment with, Lawrence Taylor. I just mentioned Dennis Rodman. As long as you're productive and as long as you're not hurting women and kids and, and doing something, to jeopardize the health of others.
Right.
Knock yourself out, man. Like, as long as I can you from 1 p.m. Eastern time to 4 p.m. Eastern time to lock in. After that, 4:01, do what you want to do.
Yeah, look, I mean, we know the talent is there, and the Bears did everything they possibly can to put a team around them. I mean, including bringing in Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator. Not a good head coach, as as a Saints fan, I will say that. But as a defensive coordinator, I think they got something in him as a defensive coordinator. Their defense will improve. But I mean, you got a lot of pieces around you, and the NFC North looks like that wide open division. A lot of talented teams in that division, and Caleb Williams is going to have to play, at a high level, to be able to come out of the North. And if he does, then I think all the questions will be answered about number 18. But Emory, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate you stopping by the State of the NFL. It's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. Just let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and some of the projects you got going on.
Well, they can follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is at FBall Game Plan. Instagram is Football Game Plan, all one word. They can go pick up the draft guide because right now it has transitioned from a draft guide to preseason guide, right? So you want to find out who's all on the team and who's going to be playing these third and fourth quarters of these preseason games. You can go right now, footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike. Couple of projects that we're working on, but nonetheless still getting ready for the upcoming season. And if you are looking for football, I still do CFL previews and picks on CBSSports.com. And I will also be the color analyst / play-by-play guy for the European League of Football game coming up next week, the 27th of July, between Prague and, I believe, Helvetic. So Swedish team versus team from Prague, and that's going to be a great game. I love calling those European League of Football games, and just follow me on so you can get the date and time of when that kicks off.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that he has in play right now, but make sure that you get a copy of the college football game plan. I mean, I got my copy, and I'm telling you, it's a detailed list of all of the prospects, and really fully evaluated them, according to their skill set. So to get you prepared for the NFL season. So make sure that you get that copy. And make sure you follow Emory on social media and keep up with him during that color commentary. Well, we really do appreciate it, Emory. Like always, man, it's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. I'll see you down the road, man.
Appreciate you, TJ. Keep doing well, man. Love what you're doing with this podcast series.